I am jumping right into this build and wasting no time. I mentioned it a little bit during the kit stash, but this is going to be a competition build of sorts. As far as I know, there's no prizes to be won. You just get all the likes that people give you on Facebook. You get your build displayed up on the banner of the group. And it's a pretty cool group. You guys should check it out. I'm going to have a link in the description. Basically, what we do is every other night, we just go live and build with each other. And I probably shouldn't say we, because I haven't been that active in the group lately. I got a new shift change at work, and I've been kind of a ghost for the past 2 or 3 months. Anywho, now that this box is almost empty, I'm going to cut all those bags open, and we're going to take a closer look at each one of these sprues. The body, I will just be generous and say that it's kind of rough. It's kind of hard to see here, but the body has just a hint of warpage to it. It's got quite a bit of flash. It's got some mold lines. Just easy cleanup stuff, but just annoying to deal with. The roof, it's kind of wavy, but that's okay because that's get covered with another piece later on. A lot of the detail is molded in, which I am not a big fan of because it was molded in sloppily and it's going to take a lot of work to clean it up and make it look good. Now that same waviness from the roof of the cab is here on the bed rails. There is a mold line running dead center, straight down all that wood grain. That's going to be fun to clean up. Now I am just a little bit late getting this video out. I have already done test fitting and actually got this thing painted. But even here, I knew something was up because the body lines don't exactly match up. We'll see more of that later. On to the sprues though. Here we got our pulleys and belt. And of course, it's got a floating alternator. We got our door panels. Right here we got the firewall. We got half the front core support. Next to that we got the heads and valve covers. Check this out. Let's zoom in here. I don't think these came factory embossed with the word Chevrolet on them, but well, it's kind of cool. Next to that we got the log style manifolds, the timing cover with water pump built into it. And right above that we actually have the other half of that alternator with a bracket on it. Nice. From there, we got the air cleaner, we got the oil pan with the starter and oil filter built into it, the intake, and the two engine halves. And finally, we got that bench seat. Not a lot on this next sprue. This chassis takes up a whole lot of real estate. I am not a big fan of these flimsy bumper brackets. I've actually already broke one off. And up here, we have the steering column with the 3 on the tree style shifter. We got our radiator hoses, a fan shroud, and the other half of the core support with the radiator molded in. Now at first I didn't know what this was, but then I remembered this has a link style rear suspension. This is a pan hard bar. Not a lot on this sprue either. We get the back of the cab, the tailgate, the tail light bucket things for the back of the bed. These are the latches with molded in chains for the bed. Some cross member of some sort. Not really sure what's get them 3 giant pegs on it. We'll find out though. We have a full-size spare, followed by a bunch of beauty rings, and then the steelies. On the next sprue, we have 75% of our hood, the steering linkage, control arms, and look at this steering wheel. That is a super clean, thin mold. I never expected something like that from Revell. Now up here we got some small fiddly bits. We get the battery, a master cylinder, a distributor cap right there, and I don't know what the rest of that stuff is, but we'll find out. Now back in the day, trucks like this were considered light duty, so they did not have leaves. They had these control arms with coil springs under them. And next to that, we have the other 25% of the hood. This is going to go on the front, and these are going to go on the sides. This was a terrible design, and it required a whole lot of cleanup to make it fit right and look decent. The upper control arms right next to the hood looks like a more complex mold, so I don't know why they did the hood like this. But what I was just pointing out there was the hood latch, and I keep coming back to the steering wheel and the steering linkage. I'm just surprised that Revell clearly has the technology to do this, but just doesn't consistently do it. On this overly shiny sprue, we have our rear bumper, the grille, and the front bumper. Also on the sprue, we get the wipers, the door handles, and all of the mirrors. And they are all strategically placed as once we cut them off the runners, well, it's going to be visible where we cut them off. Down here though, we got some badges, and finally we have our hubcaps. I can't wait to get all of this chrome stripped off because I'm going to be going a different route with this build. Now in all the unboxings I've seen, the clear parts are in a sealed bag. Mine are cut with a very jagged blade, and the reds are stuffed in there with the clears. And normally I leave these in the bag to protect them, but well, bag's open, so I might as well show you. These clears are some excellent cast. There is zero distortion, they're super thin, and they're super clear. I'm actually somewhat impressed by these. Good job, Revell. I even like how all the sprue points, they're super thin, so I'm not going to be too afraid to cut them off with my sprue cutters. Clear parts are made of a different plastic than your regular parts. They're super brittle, so when you cut them with sprue cutters, it's so violent that sometimes it just cracks the clears. And if we zoom in here, we can see a little bit of scuff marks on the rear window, probably from the reds kicking around in the same bag as them. Either way, they should buff out super easy. So let me very carefully put these back in the bag, separate from the reds, and then we'll move on to the next sprue. These wheels you may recognize from the kit stash update that I had just done. These are those aftermarket wheels that came with the GTX. The plan on the GTX is to do a stock, maybe Pro Street, I'm not really sure. All I know is I am not going to be using those wheels, so might as well use them on this build. They also have a really nice set of matching brakes that you kind of can't really see behind the wheels, so I may not use them. They are really nice, so I may throw them in the parts bin for a future build. Just remind me to throw that K member back in the box with the GTX. The decals here, these things really are a work of art. Revell may be kind of spotty, but they have some amazing decals. I have not had any problems ever with a set of Revell decals. So right here at the top we have, I don't think you guys could see this. Hold on. There we go. We got our gauge cluster, climate controls, a whole bunch of badges for under the hood. Now zooming back out, over here on the left we could see some logos. Those will come in handy for this build. Over here we get this super awesome seat pattern that I don't do enough drugs to understand. Oh yeah, and if you guys didn't see it, right in the middle, we got that wooden bed. I don't think I've ever seen staples in just a regular American issue Revell instruction sheet. As usual though, I'm going to flip through this. If you guys want to spend a little extra time on one section, just pause the video. Now, typical Revell fashion, we got a paint call out followed by a complete part list. I am kind of amazed by these illustrations. They're clear. They tell you exactly where things go. I forgot why I pointed at these, but it must have been important at the time. Yeah, that piece I was kind of confused about. Pan hardbar. I knew it. And that section of cross member with the three pegs, it's for a spare tire. Now, while I was filming this part here, I just realized you guys could see me taking a drink there in the reflection of my display cabinet. So, cheers. As I said though in the unboxing, this will be a competition of sorts. The theme is a work truck. The deadline is October 31st. At this exact moment, it is 11 p.m. on October 18th. Let's get to work.